Welcome to the Host Planet Playbook, your go-to guide for mastering short-term rentals. In this special series, we're sitting down with 30 of the world's top property managers to uncover what really drives success in the vacation rental industry. You'll hear their stories, learn the key lessons they've picked up along the way, and discover the game-changing tech they use to deliver 5-star guest experiences. If you're serious about growing your STR business, you're in the right place. We've also developed an ebook featuring the stories of every manager in this series, and you can download it for free. Head to hostplanet.club to find out more. In today's episode, we're chatting to Brendan McNeal from Michigan. Stand by for a deep dive into how a dad of 4 runs 7 rentals, the challenges of co-hosting, and outstanding guest communication. This special series is brought to you by Host Planet and Hospitable, the smart AI-powered property management software trusted by hosts worldwide. With Hospitable, you can automate guest messaging, sync calendars across platforms, and manage your rentals with ease, all from one powerful, easy-to-use platform. If you're keen to run your short-term rental on autopilot, try Hospitable today. Visit hospitable.com/hostplanet to see how the platform can save you time, reduce stress, and maximize your earnings. Brendan, thank you for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Let's start with you. What's the name of your company? Where are you located? And how many rentals do you manage?
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. So the name of my company is NoMi Stays, NoMi Stays. And we're located in Michigan. So NoMi is kind of short for Northern Michigan. So a little bit of play on words there. And as a true Michigander, the nice thing about us is we have a little map that we carry around with us. I don't know if you're familiar, but this is like the map of Michigan. So I'm located like right up here, and our rentals are kind of all in that area. So I own 2 of my own properties, and then I help manage 5 additional ones. So that's, I guess managing on an ongoing basis, approximately 7 units at this point.
Superb. And how did you get involved in short-term rentals?
Yeah, I several years ago was kind of, we had our first child, I guess 8 years ago. And when that happened, it kind of got me thinking about a lot of things in my life. And one of those was like finances, and how do I want to create a better life for not only myself and our family, or my wife, but also like the additional kids that we're going to have. My first daughter came. And so at that time, I looked at real estate, and I was like, that seems to be the path that people build wealth, and just a way to do that. And so I kind of went down the path of real estate, and I always thought long-term rentals, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a tenant, and it's going to be a long-term rental thing. I bought the books, and I was like, man, like this, it seemed like a lot of work for not a lot of reward from again, strictly financial position, which is where I was coming from at the time. And then I came across, I think it was Avery Carl's book about like short-term rentals, and kind of got into that. And I was like, man, there is more opportunity in the real estate realm than the long-term rental game. So I started going down that rabbit trail. I was like, man, there's a lot of opportunity here, not only from a financial, but for just creating a business. And I felt like I didn't see the business piece of it with the long-term rental. So I kind of went down that rabbit trail, kind of teetered and sat on my hands probably too long. But I pulled the trigger and was like, okay, we're going to do this, and kind of like committed, we're going to do short-term rentals. So it kind of just happenstance, I like the idea of creating good experiences and like helping people. And like, I didn't think I could get that with the long-term rental. So all of those factors, it just kind of allowed me to, it just kind of seemed like a good fit, I guess, to start jumping into the short-term rental world.
So I imagine you started with your own property, and then you've built up and scaled to managing others. So just tell us about the journey.
Yeah. So we bought our first property actually just last January. So we're still pretty newbies, I would say, overall. It's just a 1-bed, 1-bath condo over in Traverse City, Michigan, and really good tourism spot in Northern Michigan. But yeah, we started there, and we kind of got it all set up. We did everything ourselves, put the furniture together, did all that stuff, and kind of hit the ground running and had a really good, good first summer. That's the busiest time for our area. There's a lot of lakes, and it's like really close to Lake Michigan, which is a really big draw. So, and it just went really well. Obviously there were hiccups along the way, but from an overall, when you look back, it was good. And I was like, okay, this is something that we're interested in. So, I kind of was tossing around the idea of co-hosting. I had kind of come across that concept through that process of researching short-term rentals and through, starting my own. And so I was like, yeah, let's maybe start this. I didn't really know where to begin. And then I saw one of the Facebook groups. I'm part of many of the Facebook groups out there that are related to short-term rentals. And there was someone, it might have even been in a comment. I don't know. I don't think it was a coincidence that I came across this comment. Someone was like, hey, I'm just opening my first short-term rental in Gaylord, which is the city I live in. And I'm looking for someone to help me out. And I just didn't have anything set up. I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just responded. And I was just like, hey, I would be happy to do that. I would love to talk to you, kind of see what we can do. And after talking with her, she was like my first co-hosting client. I think that's really where it all started. And she's been great. And, I still work with her a year later at this point. And it kind of got me going and kind of helped me build that rapport of being able to be a host, not only for myself, but for someone else as well. So anyway, and then a couple months later, we got our next property at the end of November, I believe. And then we've just kind of gradually picked up a couple other people here along the way and, have a couple more on the pipeline. And that's just kind of how it's been all very natural. I haven't done a whole lot of other stuff. Just as people, I see needs, I reach out and we connect, or even through kind of the co-host network that Airbnb has. I've had a few people reach out that way too. So that's kind of where we are today. And it's been great because I work full time outside of this too. And so being able to kind of grow a little bit more naturally, a little bit more slow is kind of fits our lifestyle at this point. So
how much research did you do going into that first property? And looking back now, what are the things that maybe you wish you'd done a little bit differently?
Yeah, there was, I'm a CPA by trade, and I kind of fit that mold of a little bit risk averse, kind of very analytical, methodical, kind of want to know everything before jumping into something. So I probably did too much research on the front end of I need everything to be perfectly lined up and I need to know exactly how everything is before I jump into it. And I'd say that's probably, looking back, I'd say that would be one of the things that I would change. I think sometimes you kind of got to jump in and learn by doing, and not you can only know so much and plan for so much. Things change constantly. So I wish I would have jumped in a little bit sooner. But yeah, I mean, it was probably, like I said, so my daughter's 8 years. I started looking at real estate, and I got my first property just last year. So 7 years of kind of looking at the idea and tossing around the idea. Once I landed on short-term rentals, it was maybe a year or two, but it was just one of those things that, I wanted to make sure I knew all the systems, all the technology I would need. How do I address guests? Do I do long distance? Do I do locally? All of those things. I felt like I needed all the answers right away, and that's just not true. I should have just pulled the trigger sooner and done it. And even just the financial piece of how am I going to get a down payment? How am I going to pay for furniture? All that kind of stuff. I think I limited myself on it all has to be me, and it all has to be cash with, I have to build this up. And I didn't think about partnerships, or I didn't think about, other things that I wish I would have kind of going into it. I've kind of had a mindset shift, I would say, in the last 2 years, which is the catalyst of what got me to the first property.
If people talk to you and say, I want to emulate what you've done, I've got a full-time job, but I want to get involved in short-term rentals as well, what would your top tips be to those people?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say start slow. Like I said, I think building with the one and something it's super manageable. Like I said, a one bed, one bath. It seems very doable. It wasn't this massive mansion that, have tons of amenities, a hot tub, a swimming pool, a this, a that. Like, it's just, I think just getting the ball rolling, kind of getting your feet wet to kind of work out those processes, I think was one of the best things that could have happened to me. Because there were times that I failed. The processes failed at the time, and like cleaners weren't scheduled correctly. And it kind of like allowed me, and it's a one bed, one bath. So like, it's easier for someone to come in last minute to quickly turn over, or, and those little things. And it's part of an HOA, which I know some people don't like, but it's very short-term rental friendly. So there's not a lot of extra things that I needed to do. Like, I didn't have to coordinate lawn care or snow plow. The snow's huge in the area. So like all of that stuff, working full time, it was nice to just being able to not have to worry about some of those things. And then as you feel more comfortable, then kind of growing a little bit more naturally. So, but yeah, I mean, being willing to put in the work as well. I mean, just that tip, because, there are several late nights I think I would go, getting the property set up. I'm a family guy. I have 4 kids now. And when we had our first condo last year, our 4th was just born like a month or 2 before that. And so I wanted to be home for my wife to help support and do those things that I needed to do as a dad. So I would drive an hour starting at like 9 p.m. and not get home till like 2 a.m. and then wake up for work the next day. So like, you have to be willing to put in the work as well. And it was a grind for a short period, but it's well worth it. And again, that was a short time to just get it up and running. So those would probably be the 2 things: is start small, be willing to put in the work, and then grow a little bit more naturally, and not try to do too much too quickly.
Tell us about Michigan then. What are the main challenges and opportunities of your location?
Yeah, so I'm in northern Michigan, which, being from the area, one of the things that I like about Michigan is growing up. So I grew up kind of on the south side of Michigan. So Michigan is very populated. Kind of on the west side, southwest side, you have Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Holland. Like, it's a very populated area. And then on the east side, south, you have like Detroit and the surrounding area there, which is also very populated. And then once you get to a certain point up north, it's less populated, but people from downstate have always, I mean, even before Airbnb and short-term rental, the way it's blown up, would always go up to their lake house or their cabin up north. And so it's always kind of been like this, like a market. Like there's mom and pop shops that aren't listed on there that people go to every year because it's beautiful. A lot of lakes, a lot of forests, a lot of nature related things. Traverse City is probably the biggest city up north, which is becoming a little bit bigger of a city than it was historically. So that's becoming more like a Grand Rapids. But it also still has like a lot of beaches and things. So it kind of has that both. So that's really the draw to northern Michigan, is people during the summers, especially, just flock up, love to be on the lake, love to be in nature, that sort of stuff. So from an opportunity standpoint, I just really love that, this is stood the test of time. First of all, like before Airbnb, it wasn't something that boomed during COVID and not sure it's going to, last afterwards. It's always been something that people want to come up and escape on the water up north. And really, because it has been like kind of has that history, there's a lot of, older operators that haven't necessarily caught up to some of the Airbnb, standards at this point, or the short-term rental standards of having excellent properties. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in that regard to create an experience, a property that stands out from the rest. So that is one of the things that I really like about it. And then I think some of the challenges, though, we are in a small town. So like I live in a town of 6,000 people, and one of our rentals is in this town. Finding, the support, like, adequate cleaners and adequate handyman and some of those things is probably one of the harder things to do. And again, trying to get them on board with your processes. You'll find people that are been doing it for 15 years and they've always done it a certain way. It's shoot me a text. I need you to update this Excel spreadsheet. I need you to do this. And it's like, well, can I just automatically send you a text through my property management software, like it's like trying to like pull teeth sometimes on getting people up to snuff. But thankfully, we're kind of, we found the people we need at this point, but that's one of I think the main challenges. And I will say the other challenge is just the seasonality. So our condo in Traverse City definitely is way slower in the winter. There's not a lot of winter activities. There are some in other areas. So like where I have a lake house, a 4-bedroom lake house in Gaylord, like I said, there's like snowmobile and there's there's skiing in Michigan, which, after living in Colorado for a couple of years, it's not quite the same, but it is skiing. And so there is some of that in some of the areas of northern Michigan as well, but it definitely dies down a lot in the winter. So trying to navigate that, whether using midterm rentals or things like that, is one of the things that I think is challenging.
Finding great cleaners is a challenge, I think, wherever you are in the world.
Yeah. Yes.
What are your top tips for delivering an outstanding guest experience?
Yeah, I think, one of the things is communication. And I think on a couple different fronts, I think over communicating on the front end to be able to set clear expectations. We have a lake house that's a little bit older, has a little bit of, it has some unique things, funny things about it, that like it has a boiler heating system, which just makes funny noises or things like that. And so being really upfront and clear to guests, like, hey, this is what you can expect. It's not going to really impact you that much. It's really small, but it's, you set all those clear expectations. We have it in our listings. We have it in part of our communications that we send, like, hey, just so you know, there's a few unique things about this that I just want you to be aware of. It's not going to impact your stay that much, but if they know it and then they hear the sound, the water going through the boiler system, then it's not a surprise, and it just allows them to be like, oh, he mentioned that. That's not a big deal. So I think over communicating those things really helps. It has really been helpful for us, and I've noticed that in reviews that we get, that's a common thread of like, hey, he communicated a bunch of stuff to us ahead of time. And I think that helps the experience. And then on the back end, I think being responsive and being available. So, I really pride myself on being able to respond quickly to guest messages. Like I've really prided myself to be available and being quick to respond. And again, that's something that a lot of guests have acknowledged in our reviews and things. So communication, I think, is they just kind of want to be heard. They want to, have a good experience, and they want to know what to expect. And so if you can communicate those things appropriately, I think that's a huge part of the battle of creating a good experience. But and then I think, kind of even on a smaller scale, just being quick to solve problems. Like if there's an example we had, they couldn't find the remote to the TV, and it was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just Instacart you a remote. And within an hour, they got a remote, and it was like, they were just blown away just by that small little act, which cost me maybe $30 to all in to do. And it was just like, it was quick, it was fast, solved a problem, and they loved it. So, sometimes, I think myself, try to create everything and make everything like perfect ahead of time, so there's no issues. And obviously that's the goal, but I don't know if I've had a stay that's been perfect. Like that's just like every guest has different things. So I think like being willing and able to just like respond to their problems or to their questions quickly, like it gives you I see it more as an opportunity. It gives you an opportunity to respond quickly and to create that experience that maybe they wouldn't have if everything was, if they don't make any comments during the stay. But I like being able to solve a problem for them, and then it leaves them in a good experience. So yeah, that'd probably be the biggest things that I would say. Some of our properties leave little gift bags or whatever, but I honestly, nobody has commented on any of that stuff. It's mostly the communication. So from my experience, at least, that's been huge.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And also you're co-hosting as well. So talk to us about co-hosting, how that works for you, and how you keep the people that you're working with happy? You know, what are they looking for? I imagine it's quite a range. You know, some people want somebody who's basically going to do everything, and other people just want a bit of support.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm small enough right now that I feel like I'm still willing to be flexible with different owners on how I operate, and because I have so many different people. So I think I'm still trying to learn to like set the exact, like, how do I want everyone going forward to look like this? But yeah, I mean, right now I have one owner that is, like you just said, very hands off. Like, I barely hear from him. I act very much like the owner of the property in many respects, and that works for him, and that's great. And it's easy enough for me because I treat it just like my own property I would, and kind of go from there. And then there's another person that she's a little bit more hands-on. Her family has a cottage like right around the corner. Like, they're one of those Michigan people that came up north every summer, and they still do. And so she's around the property, so she'll come like restock and do some of those things. And we're just in constant communication via text if she's going to be in the area and wants to stop by and do whatever she needs to do. But yeah, so that's how. But most of it is truly like a co-hosting arrangement, where I do bill them, from a financial perspective, operationally, like kind of at the end of the month for my services. I am not like handling the funds for them. I'm not, like I said, I don't have internal cleaners. It's a kind of a one-man shop right now. But yeah, maybe someday down the road that will change. But that's just kind of how we operate. There was one opportunity that came up where that this owner wanted to maintain more control than I have for most of my other properties. Most of them, I am like doing guest communication, managing the schedule. Those kind of back end things are things that I do for all of our properties. And there was one owner that came in that wanted to do more of that. I was just going to be kind of like feet on the ground if something came up. And that ended up not working out. And that's one of those things that I think I have my systems in place for a lot of those things. And then I was trying to fit this owner into, I didn't want the opportunity to go away. Like but I was trying to fit them in to a system that it wasn't compatible. It was totally separate. Things fell. I failed at times, and we have since separated, and it just didn't work out. But so there are things that I'm learning along the way that, like, hey, I have things in place, and I won't accept another co-host opportunity like that because it just doesn't fit with that. And so I like I said, I'm constantly developing what that looks like, and sometimes it comes through failure that's being developed.
What do you love most about hosting?
I love being able to provide really good experiences to guests. So I look at what they're spending, and I'm like, man, these people are spending a lot of money at properties that I own or manage, and I just really want them to have a good time. And like, I love it when I get a review that says like, hey, this place was amazing. The host was super responsive, was super like that. I love that. Like, that to me is like, that's what I do it for, is like that piece. I just love being able to have guests come and experience what we are trying to offer them and just love it. I mean, that's what I love about it.
Okay, then, Brendan, we've got a few more quickfire questions now. Which PMS do you use?
Hospitable.
Which dynamic pricing tool do you use?
Price Labs.
Which piece of tech couldn't you live without?
If we're talking like physical tech, like hardware, like my phone, because that just like has everything between the Hospitable app, like I said, Instacart, I live and die by. But if someone needs something right away, like texting, everything is on my phone. Which sometimes my wife hates, but it keeps the business operating. And yeah, that's what I use the most.
Ideally, pets, yes or no?
Yes.
Ideally, hot tub, yes or no?
Yes.
Ideally, self-check-in or a personal welcome?
Self-check-in.
Telephone call or an AI response?
From a quantity perspective, most of my responses are AI. There are instances when a telephone is better and needed. Yes.
And what's been your most memorable hosting moment so far?
So the way my mind works, I tend to dwell on the negative, and I'm really trying to change that mindset. But one of them is a negative, and is the most memorable. There was a time last summer where we had some sort of mix up on the cleaning schedule, and so I had to drop what I was doing on a Saturday, and I had to go clean the property myself, which I found out I am not good at. So I did the cleaning. I focused on the areas that I really thought I needed to because I was already short on time. It wasn't like I found out first thing in the morning and I had time to plan. It was just like, no, go, and I had to go clean. And so I cleaned what I needed to clean. Well, or so I thought. The guests come in. They kind of, I check in with them after they get in and all that stuff. And they say, oh, everything's fine. Everything's good. And then come to the last day of the stay, I get a really long message from the guests saying that things were not so good, and kind of created a punch list of, primarily cleaning related things that were not good. And I was like, bummer. And I knew, and I just was expecting, I was like, well, here I hit all 5 stars up to this point. Everything was great. And I was expecting, here's the first not 5-star. And come to find out, they actually gave me a 5-star, which was really odd. But that's the crazy part is they actually wrote a handwritten note in the property for the next guests that also listed out all the problems. And so that one was a tough pill to swallow because we didn't find it until that one guest had stayed in between, and then we found it after that. So anyway, it was a really weird situation that they would, I was thankful that they gave the 5-star, but it was crazy that there were so many issues and handwritten notes with a bunch of things that were wrong. So that's definitely my most memorable. I still have the letter, the handwritten letter, as kind of a memento to okay, this can't happen again. So.
Okay. Well, so long as it's not framed in your office or something.
Yeah, like right. Right. No, not like that.
but I think, don't worry. I think we've all been there on a Saturday when you get the call from the guest and say, hi, I've just checked in. It hasn't been cleaned. It happened to me, I think, a year ago. I was like, thankfully, I was very close by to the property.
Yeah.
And I could just pop round and kind of sort things out. But it's the nightmare call that we all dread as hosts. All right then, Brendan. So a question to finish then, ultimate goal for your STR business.
Yeah, I think mine has less to do with dollars and cents. Really, it's really just, I'm trying to create multi-generational legacy, that's big picture. It's more of a life goal, and the short-term rental is one of those means to which to do that. So, something that our kids can as they get a little older, grow into and help operate and kind of do that sort of stuff. And then financially be able to set us up to be able to create that multi-generational legacy that we hope. So, we're going to kind of just keep going on the grind and keep picking up properties as they come up, and as the opportunity comes up, and as co-hosting opportunities come up, as long as it's a good fit, we're going to keep growing that and hopefully leave our normal W-2 job and again, create this legacy. So
I think that's a great goal. Brendan, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for being part of the Host Planet Playbook.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, that's it for today's episode. My thanks to Brendan for sharing his journey and for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Remember, this series is brought to you in partnership with Hospitable, the all-in-one property management software designed to save you time and help your business thrive. Hospitable automates your guest messaging, syncs your calendars across platforms, handles team tasks, and so much more, so you can focus on delivering a top-notch guest experience or just get some of your time back. And here's the good news. Host Planet Playbook listeners get an exclusive 14-day free trial plus 25% off for the first 3 months. Head to hospitable.com/hostplanet to claim your offer and start running your rentals on autopilot. For more free education for vacation rental hosts, head to hostplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download our suite of ebooks. Until next time, happy hosting.